Chennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench.
Goes around to Gumake, drives baseline, and shot rejected by Izzy McMagor.
In pain after she caught that fingertip in the eye or right around it.
And kind of swatted at Caitlin. Did you intend to hit her in the eye?
I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Like, you know, just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get inside your head. And know it's coming. I think at this point, like, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA was highly anticipated by both fans and analysts, as the brightest star in college basketball was now set to illuminate the professional stage. However, it seems many of the league's veterans didn't get the memo, greeting Clark with a mix of hard fouls, dismissive comments, and outright taunting. While that level of intensity is common for rookies entering the big leagues, everything surrounding Clark has been amplified, resulting in an unprecedented wave of trash talk. But her rivals are quickly realizing that provoking her might not be the smartest move. Time and again, those who have disrespected her find themselves on the wrong side of a revenge performance. Each deep three-pointer she drains over a player who once mocked her sends a clear message: Caitlin Clark is not one to be trifled with. This is the mark of a rising superstar, especially when you consider how rapidly she has adapted to a new style of play and a far more physical level of competition. While almost everyone agrees that Clark possesses elite talent, her toughness and ability to handle contact have often been questioned by both the media and her peers. Early in her rookie season, she became a favorite target for WNBA players seeking the spotlight, and the treatment continued even as she began putting up historic numbers. To her credit, Clark never appeared rattled. She stayed poised in interviews, stood her ground on the court, and learned to push back when more experienced players tried to bully her. The list of Caitlin Clark's detractors spans from fellow rookies to veteran superstars. Many players seem to think they're better than her, until game time proves otherwise. Trash-talking someone as talented and fiercely competitive as Clark usually has one predictable outcome: she makes you pay. One such case came when Dana Evans of the Chicago Sky, a scrappy guard known for her relentless hustle, decided to make a statement against the rookie. During a regular season matchup between the Sky and the Indiana Fever, the 5 feet 6 inches point guard tried to show Clark that nothing comes easy in the pros. Unfortunately, Evans went too far, crossing the line from tough defense into reckless aggression. As Clark drove to the basket, Evans locked elbows with her, sending her crashing into another defender, the physical Chennedy Carter. More on her later. The result was a violent collision that left Clark sandwiched between two opponents and lucky to avoid serious injury. Heated words were exchanged, though the mics didn't catch them. A less composed player might have lost confidence after that moment, but not Clark. Instead, she responded the best way she knows how, by scoring at will. Moments later, she buried a series of deep jumpers, swish, 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 reminding everyone that she's not easily intimidated. Rather than retaliate physically, she controlled the game, proving why she's one of the most dangerous players with the ball in her hands. The Sky tried to bait her into losing her cool but ended up losing the game themselves, partly because of unnecessary fouls on Clark. Interestingly, Clark doesn't only get chirped at when she's dominating offensively. Her defense also seems to draw criticism. Despite being labeled soft early on, she often takes heat when she plays with the same physicality that's used against her. A clear example came during her encounter with Kahleah Copper, a high-scoring wing from the Phoenix Mercury. After Clark fouled Copper on a drive to the basket, Copper immediately began talking trash and got in her face. While things didn't escalate dangerously, the incident highlighted the double standards Clark faces every night. The footage clearly shows Clark committing a routine foul to stop an easy bucket, nothing dirty or excessive. Yet Copper reacted furiously and had to be separated from her. Clark, remaining calm, simply said, "It was just a foul," before walking away to avoid further drama, but it's fair to wonder if Copper would have reacted the same way had it been anyone else. But as usual, Clark let her play do the talking. Despite the tension, she led her team to another home victory. In the clutch, she maneuvered through double teams, found open teammates, and sealed the game with a highlight reel assist, a perfect example of her court vision and composure under pressure. Surprisingly, some of the loudest trash talkers against Caitlin Clark have been seasoned veterans who should know better. Las Vegas Aces guard Alysha Clark, a 3-time WNBA champion, 3-time Israeli League champion, and reigning 6th Woman of the Year, falls into that group. At 37 years old, she has nothing left to prove, yet during a game against the Fever, frustration got the best of her. Unable to stop Caitlin on offense, she resorted to a blatant hit to the head. The moment was caught on camera, painting Alysha in a bad light and once again reinforcing one undeniable truth: trying to rough up Caitlin Clark usually backfires.
First quarter, the Fever getting their first win last night in Los Angeles. That's got to be pretty tough, I would think, on Caitlin to just really...
Alicia Clark should absolutely be ashamed for acting that way on a basketball court. Not only did she commit a foul that has no place in the game, but after being called for it, she ran off in frustration as if she had made a clean block. That's pure nonsense. You can clearly see Caitlin's head snap back from the contact, so Alicia had to know exactly what she'd done. Acting shocked and angry at the referee's call felt completely disingenuous, behavior more fitting for a rookie than for a veteran player with a trophy case full of championships. It's hard to believe she would have reacted the same way if her foul had been against anyone other than Caitlin Clark. But with the underlying animosity toward Caitlin that seems to exist across the league, Alicia couldn't simply raise her hand, admit the foul, and move on like a professional. So once again, Caitlin Clark had to be the adult in the room. As seen in the clip, she calmly checked her eye, regrouped with her teammates, and prepared for the next possession. No drama, no chasing Alicia around, no fake toughness. She took the hit in stride and immediately went back to focusing on basketball. Ironically, the foul may have done the opposite of what Alicia intended. It woke Caitlin up. She hadn't been playing her sharpest game before the incident, but after taking that shot, she locked in completely, attacking with renewed focus and scoring far more efficiently for the rest of the matchup against the Aces.
Play if they're going to pull the upset here. Watch this screen, and then a nice pocket pass. No.
Her full repertoire of slick passes and deep-range shots was on full display, as she once again recorded a double-double with 13 points and 11 assists. While her scoring was slightly below her season average, it still wasn't enough to prevent a loss to a dominant Las Vegas Aces squad currently sitting second in the Western Conference, led by last year's MVP, Aya Wilson. That's why it's fair to say Caitlin Clark hasn't fully avenged that foul just yet. Another team that learned the hard way not to test her was the Seattle Storm. During their matchup against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, several Storm players tried to disrupt her rhythm with overly physical tactics, a futile attempt to slow her momentum. One player, in particular, crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed at any level of basketball, much less in a nationally televised professional game. Shooting guard Victoria Vivians, who ironically played for the Fever just last season, took offense to Clark's offensive barrage and began talking trash as they ran back on defense after another deep three from Caitlin. The scene turned downright ugly, showcasing the growing frustration opponents feel when trying to contain the rookie phenom.
We might need to update the graphic.
The confrontation could have escalated further if not for Vivian's teammates, who quickly stepped in between her and Clark to prevent things from getting out of hand. The home crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse reacted loudly to Vivian's attempt to rattle their local hero, but the tension eventually cooled. One person who wasn't remotely shaken by the moment was Caitlin herself. She simply turned away from the chaos, walked calmly to her coach, and prepared for the next play. Since the incident occurred midway through the second quarter with Seattle leading by 6, there was still plenty of time for Clark to rally her teammates, and she did just that in spectacular fashion. From that point on, the game became completely one-sided. Let's take a look at some of Caitlin's best moments from that showdown against Victoria Vivians and the Seattle Storm. Clark showcased her entire arsenal, fearless drives to the rim, logo-range three-pointers, and even crafty defensive plays that led to steals. When the final buzzer sounded, Clark had piled up 23 points and 9 assists, while Vivians finished scoreless in just 9 minutes of action. More importantly, the Fever walked away with a dominant 20-point victory, an impressive statement against a team ranked far above them in the standings. Though the first half was tightly contested, once Clark flipped the switch, the outcome was never really in doubt. That performance alone should be enough to teach the Storm not to mess with Caitlin Clark's composure or confidence. Whether they've learned that lesson remains to be seen, as the two teams play in separate conferences and won't face each other again this season. Speaking of legends who've had plenty to say about Caitlin Clark, few names in women's basketball carry more weight than Dijonai Taurasi. A 3-time WNBA champion and former league MVP, Taurasi has long been the gold standard for guard play and leadership. Her resume gives her every right to speak on the direction of the game, but it's clear she's nearing the twilight of her career. Her reaction to the arrival of a much-hyped rookie class, led by Caitlin Clark, was understandable, but the attitude she's displayed since hasn't exactly matched her current on-court performance. Here's what she had to say when asked about the young phenom before the start of the WNBA season.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're gonna see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're gonna come with some grown women that've been playing professional basketball for a long time.
While Diana's comments didn't sound overtly malicious, she made it clear that she still views herself as being head and shoulders above the rookie. That might have been true a decade ago when Taurasi was in her prime, But at 42 years old, she's no longer in a position to teach young players a dose of reality. The gap between perception and reality quickly became evident once it was time for Dijonai Taurasi to actually face Caitlin Clark on the court, but a few months later, that long-awaited matchup finally happened, and it didn't exactly go according to Taurasi's expectations. Caitlin Clark put on a show in their first official WNBA meeting, leading the Indiana Fever to a dominant win over the Phoenix Mercury. Clark came within inches of a triple-double, finishing with 15 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds. Taurasi did manage to score 19 points, but she couldn't lift her team to victory and was ultimately forced to swallow her own words. Clark's brilliance was on full display throughout the game. Her passing, court vision, and control of tempo proved she wasn't interested in personal battles or headlines. She was there to win. Each time the Mercury defense overcommit to stopping her shot, she found open teammates and made them pay. And while the Mercury have had their share of tense moments with Clark, no team has built a bigger rivalry with her than the Chicago Sky. That feud has taken center stage all season long, fueled by a couple of players who seem to have fully embraced the villain role in this ongoing war of nerves. Chief among them is Chennedy Carter, a tough, physical guard who relishes being her team's enforcer but often takes things too far in her effort to intimidate opponents. Carter is a talented player, but her antics have a way of overshadowing her actual basketball skill, putting her in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Her most notorious moment came in the form of a flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark during a deadball situation, a cheap shot that instantly went viral and remains one of the clearest examples of unsportsmanlike behavior directed at the rookie. Let's revisit that infamous clip once again.
The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Chennedy Carter.
This incident occurred right after Caitlin had drained a big three-pointer, so it's clear that Chennedy Carter's frustration boiled over, and she chose the worst possible way to express it. What she did wasn't even a basketball play. There's no logical justification for it. It looked like a blatant act of physical intimidation, something rarely seen in today's men's or women's professional game. Carter was immediately whistled for a flagrant foul, giving Clark extra free throws and ultimately hurting her own team in the process. The Sky went on to lose that game and were eventually swept 3-0 in the season series against the Fever, meaning Carter's attempt to disrupt Clark's rhythm completely backfired. Afterward, Carter was fairly diplomatic in her post-game comments, insisting she had no personal issues with Caitlin. But the damage was already done. Her violent act had earned her the label of Caitlin Clark hater across the internet that a more composed player might have laid low for a while after such a controversy. But self-control has never been Chennedy Carter's strong suit. Just a few months after her infamous shove, she once again stirred up drama, this time online. When ESPN released its list of top WNBA players, Caitlin Clark was ranked well ahead of Carter, sitting roughly a dozen spots higher. Instead of congratulating her peers, Carter took to social media to vent, posting a bitter message on X, formerly Twitter, "How I average less minutes and my stats top in the league but I'm at the bottom? This isn't adding up. The hate be so obvious." While she didn't name Clark directly, the implication was hard to miss, and her claim didn't hold up under scrutiny. At the time, Carter was averaging 16.9 points, 2.8 assists, and 1.4 steals per game. Clark, on the other hand, was posting 17.9 points, a league-leading 8.3 assists, and 1.4 steals. Statistically and impact-wise, ESPN's ranking made perfect sense. Clark wasn't just outperforming Carter, she was outshining most guards in the league. And yet, as much as Carter seems to resent Caitlin, she isn't even Clark's biggest rival on the Chicago Sky. That title belongs to Angel Reese, the outspoken forward whose history with Caitlin dates back to their college rivalry. The two are once again going head-to-head, this time for the WNBA Rookie of the Year award, adding another chapter to a rivalry that's become one of the most talked-about storylines in women's basketball. To Angel's credit, she's at least been open about her on-court trash talk and competitive edge. She doesn't hide behind vague comments or social media posts. And when she speaks to the media, she's often more thoughtful, acknowledging the line between friendly competition and outright disrespect. Here's one particularly interesting quote from her about where she believes the limits of trash talk should be drawn.
Understand, like, if they think it's personal, but when I get between the lines, if friends or anything, if my teammate right here went to play for another team, I'm going to be competitive, I'm going to talk trash to her just because I'm super competitive and that's what we do. But off the court, we're going to kick in and have fun. So I think that's a part of the game, and just trying to normalize, like, trash talking is okay, but not taking it personal off the court. And obviously that has become a thing, and people are just trying to make it seem like it's something. But I love Caitlin, and I love her game, and I admire everything that she's done.
That explanation from Angel might have made some sense if her actions had matched her words. But they didn't. During a game against Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese committed a flagrant foul that sparked a media firestorm of epic proportions. While the foul technically occurred within the flow of play, it still resulted in yet another blow to Caitlin's head. Watching the footage, it's hard not to wonder whether it stemmed from lingering resentment toward the Indiana guard. As usual, Caitlin remained completely unfazed. She adjusted her headband, high-fived her coach, and got right back to business as if nothing had happened. Still, one can't help but suspect she mentally filed that moment away, a note to settle the score the next time she faced the Chicago Sky. When that rematch came around, Clark approached it with a different level of focus and urgency. She nearly posted another triple-double, finishing with 23 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds, leading the Fever to another decisive win. Her highlights from that game serve as yet another reminder of why trying to rattle Caitlin Clark is a losing strategy. The evidence is overwhelming. Trash-talking Caitlin Clark simply doesn't work. She's got ice in her veins and zero interest in wasting energy on petty rivalries or cheap fouls. Time after time, she lets her game do the talking, proving her doubters wrong without uttering a single word. Despite the physical play and constant scrutiny, Clark continues to rise above the noise. Her ability to stay composed under pressure, respond with excellence, and elevate her team is exactly what separates her from the rest. And while incidents like these may keep happening, her response will always be the same: silence the haters by hitting impossible shots and stacking up big wins. Eventually, the rest of the WNBA will realize what so many have already learned the hard way: when you try to rile up Caitlin Clark, you're playing with fire.